So we've finally updated the product's title and description. But we have missed one thing, and that is the collection. Like what we have mentioned in the previous lesson, collections can be too complicated since the product can be assigned to one or more collections, meaning you'll have to loop through the custom and smart collections and find that specific product and remove it, which is not possible, and that's not actually how you should do it in the first place. Well, luckily we have found a way to update your products collection using Shopify REST API. Stay tuned for that. Before we begin this video is sponsored by Hostinger. If you are developing a Shopify app and you don't really know where to upload your source files, Hostinger is the best hosting provider that I can recommend. I have personally used Hostinger for the Shopify apps that I have developed, and to be honest, this very web host that we're using for this series is provided by Hostinger. Hostinger is one of the cheapest hosting provider that can provide you everything you need to get started with developing Shopify apps. Check the link in the description below and get 90% off and free SSL certificate on your purchase. So we're here back in our index.php file, and the first thing that we need to do is to get rid of the selected attribute from the option tags. Because whenever we select a product and we close the modal, that same option will still be highlighted like so. So we need to get rid of that by copying this code from line 28, which removes the attribute using the remove attribute function. Then we'll just paste that right over here in the inside of our onHide event of the modal. And yeah, just save the script and that should fix the bug. Alright, let's get to the point of this video. Open ajax.php file. And right over here inside of our else if statement, we have used the function Shopify call to update the product title and description. So just below this is where we will be updating the collections of the product. We have different ways or options to do that. Number one is to delete the collection, create another one, and check if the selected collection is equal to the new and empty collection. Oh God, excuse me for that. Where was I? So just below this is where we'll be updating the collections of the product. So like I said, we have different ways or options to do that. Number one is to delete the collection, then create another one, and check if the selected collection is equal to the new and empty collection. And no, actually, that's not actually going to work, because when you create another collection, the new collection will have a new collection ID. It would be different unless you make a check using the title, which is, yeah, it's just really ugly. So we can't really do it that way. And number two is to use collects API to get the collects ID of the product. Then delete this collects using collects API. And lastly, use collects API to add the product to the list of collection you selected by the user. So you might be scratching your head right now and saying, wow, that's a lot of API calls just to update the products collection. And yeah, that's just how it is. I have actually talked with one of the developers of Shopify, and I was told that they don't really put themselves much in rest. No pun intended. So right now, what they're using most of the time is GraphQL, and that's another way of getting data from Shopify API. With GraphQL, all you need to do is to use collections to join and collections to live. And that's it. You have finally updated your products collections. No more getting ID or anything. In the future, we'll be covering GraphQL as well, but for now, let's just focus on REST. All right, going back here in ajax.php file, the first thing that we need to do is to get the collect ID from the collect API. So to do that, we'll just create collects variable and pass. We'll just copy this one actually and paste it right over here. And instead of products JSON, we'll replace that with collects. And instead of put, we'll use get HTTP verb. And instead of the variable array, we'll pass an empty array. Now, actually, we need to pass a product ID over here. So we'll just add product ID and then give it a value from the ID of ID. So you can see it right over here. So we're just going to use the same ID from the post. All right, so next is we need to decode this into an array. So we'll just copy the line 35 and paste it right over here. And instead of the variable smart collections, we'll replace that with collects. Same right here as well. All right. Now we got the response. Now the next thing we're going to do is to actually pass the response into an array so we can save that. So let's just create another array, which is collect IDs, and then give it an empty array. And next is we're going to use for each loop and for each collects as collect. And then inside, we'll create another for each loop as collect as key to value. All right, that's good. And the next thing inside of for each, we'll use the array push function. And for the first argument, we'll just type in the collect IDs. And for the second argument, we'll pass the value with the key ID. All right, so let's just close that with semicolon. Now, to test that if it is actually working, what we can do is to encode that into JSON. So I'll just use echo JSON encode and pass the collects ID and close that with semicolon. Now, if we save that and open our app, we should then be able to get the collect ID from the collect API. But the question is, how can you actually know that you got the response? So yeah, we just echo it out. So it should be in the inspect network, and then we should see here the PHP file. So if we open our, for example, let's just try this earring. So as you can see, we have ajax.php right over here. So we have selected 2 collections. And if we select save changes, we should get another ajax.php file over here. So let's just click that. As you can see, it's pending. Should be 200. All right, it's selected. So let's just open that. As you can see, we have 2 IDs. That is the collect ID. Now, how can we check if it's actually the collect ID? Well, we can open our collects.json using our domain. So let's just open that. So here we have our collects ID. So as you can see, I have my domain, my store, and then I just added the endpoint, and I get the collects or the IDs. So as you can see, we have this bunch of collect IDs. So we can just copy the ID and just use the find tool and paste it right over here. And as you can see, yeah, it's here. That means it's working. So the next thing that we're going to do is to actually delete this collect ID. But how are we going to do that? Well, of course, we're going to use the endpoint delete from collect API. So let's open our collect API page. As you can see right over here, we have a bunch of data. And yeah, we have the post, we have the delete, which is what we're going to use. And we have the following get endpoints. So yeah, let's just select the delete. As you can see, we have to concatenate the collect ID, which is the collect ID right over here. So if we just find that, so we're going to use this ID and concatenate that right over here. That should delete the collect. All right, so let's just copy this endpoint and go back to our ajax.php. And the next thing we're going to do is, of course, first of all, let's just paste the endpoint right over here. And let's create for each. So for each collect IDs as key to value, then we'll just copy the Shopify call function and paste it right over here. But instead of like passing the product ID, we'll just delete that. And we'll replace the get with delete HTTP verb. And let's copy this endpoint. And let's just paste it right over here. And let's replace the collect ID with our variable value. So make sure you're concatenating it right, like so. All right, so if we save our script and try the app, we should then be able to delete the collections assigned to this earring. So if we select that, as you can see, we have earrings and homepage selected. So if we just deselect collections, and if we hit save changes, these 2 collections should be deleted. So as you can see, this is the first one, and I don't know where's the second one actually. So actually, let's just select this product and paste it right over here. And as you can see, yeah, there is 2 collects. This one and this one. Now, if we hit the save changes, these two should be deleted. All right, so let's try that. So save changes. Let's wait for a little bit. And after that, let's refresh the page. And there you go. Now it's gone. And also, if we open this earring again, as you can see, it is not assigned anymore. Very cool. All right, so now the collects are gone. Now let's try to create our new collect. So to do that, we'll have to use the post endpoint. So as you can see over here, we're just going to use the same endpoint, but instead we'll use post. But we also need to send the following JSON or like array, for example. And yeah, we need to pass the collect, the product ID, and then the collection ID. So let's just copy this actually. All right, so let's just paste it right over here, and then we'll just make sure that we comment that out, and we'll just remove the space and we indent it properly. Beautiful. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is to check if there are actually collections being selected by the user or by the merchant. So if we take a look at our app, as you can see, if we select this product, we have 4 collections. So for example, we're the merchant. So if we select earrings and necklace, these 2 collections will be sent to our Ajax, and the data or the collections will be sent over here in the product data variable. Now the problem is, since this is there are 2 collections with the same name or variable name, parse string is not going to process the 2 collections. It's gonna just display the last value, which is the necklace. So we have to use a different function for that. So I have found this function from php.net, which is actually pretty cool. It was shared by Evan K. So thank you for that. It was actually 13 years ago, and yeah, it's crazy. It's not yet fixed. Crazy. Yeah, so according to him, it bears mentioning that the parse string built-in does not process a query in the CGI standard way when it comes to duplicate fields. So if we take a look at our serialized field, so if we click, actually let's just clear the network, and if we click save changes, and let's just wait that out. All right, so let's click that, and as you can see, we have 2 product collections. So according to him, it does not process the duplicates. So if multiple fields of the same name exist in the query string, every other web processing language would read them into an array, but PHP silently overwrites them. So that's right. So the last one will overwrite the previous one. So what we can do here is to just use the new or the provided parse string function. So we're just going to copy this, and we'll just go to our function, our ajax.php, and instead of just pasting in the function, that actually you can open your function.php and just paste it right over there. But I'm just gonna put it right over here for now, and I'll just fix that later on. So yeah, instead of that, we're just gonna, instead of using parse string, we'll use the custom proper parse string, and I'm just gonna use product data is equal to proper parse string, and we'll just pass the post product. There you go. We'll just get rid of this. We don't need it anymore. And yeah, all right. So if we take a look, we can just, echo JSON encode, and then we can just type in product data, and then the key product collection. Now, if we save this, we should then be able to see the collections. And then if we click save changes once again, or for example, let's just select everything, okay? Save changes. Now let's just wait. And if we select that, as you can see in the response, we have 4 collections. Awesome. And then finally, we can now check if product data and then product collection that count. Actually, no, it's wrong. It's supposed to be count count function. And then let's just close that with parentheses. And then inside, we can then use for loop. So for, let's just fix this because it looks ugly. And then like that. And the count, actually, yeah, we need to include the count. Okay, so if I is less than the count of product collection, then inside, we can just copy this, paste it over here, and then change the endpoint to the following endpoint. And then instead of delete, we use post. And then for the array, we need to create a key collect and then pass another array that makes it two-dimensional array. And we need to pass the product ID and pass the value of ID and then the collection ID. But the problem is we need to get, since we're not using for each, we need to manually create a variable here that takes this one over here and then I. There you go. And then we'll just take that variable, paste it over here, and that's pretty much it. That should work honestly. But the problem is if the user or the merchant only selected one, that means this is not going to work because this is only one, right? So it doesn't need to create parse. This function doesn't need to create a two-dimensional array or, like a 0 and then 1. So yeah, this is not going to work. So actually we need to check if the count is less than 1. If it is, then we can just use this. No, actually use this. Else, or should I just make it greater than 1? Yeah, if it's greater than 1 or greater than 0, like that. Actually, it's going to be all positive again. So I think we need to create something like this. So it's equal to 0 and the count. So we need to do something like that and less than 1. Something like that. Otherwise, we need to pass a value, something like this. I'm sorry if this is taking a long while. I was expecting it to make it really short, but yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to work now. Let's save that and let's see. And yes, let's just clear that. And if we select only earrings, save changes. And if we take a look at this, I hope it added. So let's take a look at the earrings. Earrings. Let's refresh that and see if the earrings is added. It is not added. That means it's not working. All right, we're having a little trouble here. Now, if we select 4, what will happen? The response, it's not also working. So we have an issue over here. Oh, I'm a dumb. Okay. Sorry about that. Yep, that just happened. Okay, hopefully it works now. Let's see. Let's try earrings. Let's clear this. Save changes. There you go. Refresh. Let's see, earrings. It's necklace. What are the earrings? This one. No, it didn't add. All right, so let's select 4. Let's see.
refresh, it added. So we have a problem with the condition. There we go. As you can see, it added over there. And I just noticed that the name looked like this, and I'm not sure why it's doing it like that. So yeah, we'll fix that later. But for now, let's just see what we can do with the condition. All right. So for all right, this is coming in. It's coming in as well. So if it's just 1, 0, and then no, this is wrong. Supposed to be, yeah, something like that. Because if this is 2, then it will go over here. All right, that should work now. Yeah, I'm making a lot of mistakes now. I hate it. All right, so let's clear that. Hit save changes. All right, so we make a, all right. All right, I think I get it. Sorry. All right, this is supposed to be like this. Another one. Save changes. I put it inside the earring collections. Refresh that. All right, it got deducted. Earrings, rings, necklace, earrings. Let's refresh that. It should be added. There you go. Finally, it added. And this one should disappear. There you go. Now, if we select everything, save changes, we refresh that. All right, it added. Let's refresh everything and see if they actually added the earring. It did. So, all right, it's working now, finally. Now, the problem is the title and the whole, I think the description will look like that as well. I knew it. All right, so let's fix that. I think I know how to fix that. So we're here in the put and we're using the proper parse string. And the reason why it's like that is because it's parsing everything inside the product. So including the title and the description, the product name and the product description. So what we can do is we can use URL decode, something like that. Because it's in the percentage format or yeah, text format, URL. So let's just make sure that we have enough closing parentheses. Let's save that and that should definitely work. All right. Let's clear that. Hit save. Let's wait and there you go. Let's refresh. There you go. Now it fixed the text. All right. There you go. Finally.
So that's pretty much it. And that's how you update products collection using REST API. But if you think there are other ways to achieve the same result, let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, let us know by giving this video a like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our future uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.